If you're thinking about moving to SmithLake in 2026, whether it's full-time or as a second home, there's something that you need to understand right away. The purchase price is only part of the equation. What really matters is what it costs to own it year after year. How much are property taxes actually? What does insurance look like on a waterfront home? What about dock maintenance, utilities, and those expenses that nobody talks about? What if you're coming from the Nashville or Franklin, Tennessee area? Is it truly more affordable here, or does it just look that way on paper? In this video, I'm breaking down the real numbers, not guesses, not internet rumors, the actual categories you need to budget for in 2026 if you're considering living on SmithLake. Because here's the truth, lake life can be incredible. The views, the water, the lifestyle, it's hard to beat. But smart buyers don't just fall in love with the view, they understand the full financial picture before they commit. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to expect and whether SmithLake truly makes sense for you long term. So let's break it down step by step. Now, here's the first big truth most people don't realize. What it costs to live on SmithLake depends heavily on how you plan to use the home. If this is your full-time residence, you may qualify for Alabama's homestead exemption. That can lower your property taxes and make your overall carrying cost more predictable. You're using the home consistently, utilities stay steady, and insurance is structured as a primary residence. But if this is a second home, the numbers shift. You typically won't receive the same homestead benefits, and insurance can be slightly higher because the property isn't occupied year-round. There's also the reality that part-time usage sometimes means deferred maintenance shows up all at once. Then there's the rental scenario. If you're planning to short-term rent the property, you're looking at a completely different cost structure. Insurance changes, wear and tear increases, dock usage goes up, management fees may enter the picture. So before we talk about specific numbers, understand this. The way that you use the home shapes the entire financial equation, and that context matters more than most buyers realize. Let's talk about the category that usually gets buyers' attention fast: property taxes. One of the biggest financial advantages of living on SmithLake and in Alabama in general is property taxes. Alabama consistently ranks among the lowest property tax states in the country. And when buyers are relocating from Tennessee, especially Nashville or Franklin, this is often the first major surprise. For many waterfront homes on SmithLake, annual property taxes typically fall somewhere between $2,500 to $6,000 per year. That range depends on the value of the home, the county it's located in, and whether you qualify for a homestead exemption. If the property is your full-time primary residence, that homestead status can reduce your taxable amount. If it's a second home, you're usually going to land towards the higher end of that range. But still, even on the higher end, many buyers are surprised at how reasonable it feels compared to other waterfront markets. Now, put that into perspective. A similarly priced home in Nashville or Franklin would easily see property taxes 2 or 3 times higher annually. When you run the math over 5, 10, or 15 years, that difference becomes significant. Lower property taxes don't just help your monthly budget, they give you flexibility. Flexibility to upgrade the dock, flexibility to renovate, or simply flexibility to enjoy the lake without feeling financially stretched. For many Tennessee buyers, this is the moment where the numbers start to shift from maybe to this actually makes sense. Now let's shift to another major category, home insurance. Lake homes are different. And because they're different, insurance is different too. In general, you can expect waterfront homes on SmithLake to cost more to insure than a typical subdivision home. Proximity to the water plays a role, and so does storm exposure, age of the home, roof type, and overall replacement cost. For many waterfront homes, annual insurance premiums can range roughly from $2,500 to $6,000 or more, depending on size, age, and coverage structure. Large luxury properties will obviously land much higher. Insurance costs have also increased nationwide over the past few years, and that isn't unique to SmithLake. It's happening everywhere. That's why we always advise buyers to get insurance quotes early in the process, not after they're already emotionally committed. When you factor in insurance together with property taxes, you start to see the true annual carrying costs take shape. Now let's talk utilities. Because this is where lifestyle shows up in the numbers. Most of SmithLake is serviced by Alabama Power, and some areas are serviced by Coleman Electric Cooperative. Who services the property depends on location, so it's something that we confirm during due diligence. Electric bills can vary depending on season and usage, and summers are the biggest swing factor. Air conditioning runs constantly, pools add draw, and if your dock has electrical services for boat lifts or lighting, that contributes too. Solar dock systems are also becoming more common. Solar can power the lifts and lighting without running traditional electrical lines to the dock, and many owners consider it to be a safer and lower maintenance option long term. Water service around the lake is primarily public water, keeping billing simple and predictable. Fiber internet is now available in many communities and continues to expand, which is important for remote workers. Still, availability should always be verified property to property. Utilities aren't usually high, but your lifestyle absolutely influences the final numbers. Now let's talk about something almost no one explains properly. Dock maintenance. Every dock on SmithLake floats. Water levels fluctuate throughout the year, and floating systems adjust accordingly. But they aren't maintenance free. Cables require adjustments, and hardware wears over time. Storms can cause minor damage, and heavy boat traffic can add strain. Most homeowners budget somewhere between $500 to $2,000 a year for routine dock maintenance, depending on whether they hire service professionals or handle minor adjustments themselves. Major repairs like flotation replacement or storm damage can cost more, but they aren't everyday events. Dock maintenance isn't complicated, but it is something that you need to plan for. And when you budget properly, it becomes routine rather than a surprise. Let's talk about everyday living. SmithLake is rural, and that's part of the appeal, but it means your grocery routines look different. Most areas are about 25 to 40 minutes from major grocery store chains. If you're a part-time resident, you'll likely stock up on groceries on your way in for the week. Then use local markets for forgotten items or quick restocks. If you're full-time, you simply get more efficient. When you're making that 30+ minute drive, you make it count. You combine errands, plan ahead, and set a rhythm. The cost of groceries isn't dramatically different. It's about convenience and logistics. Now let's quickly touch on HOA fees. Many waterfront homes on SmithLake have no HOA at all, especially older or more private properties. However, some gated or newer developments do have associations. Fees typically range from around $300 to $3,000 per year, depending on the amenities provided. In some communities, that may include boat storage, maintained roads, or common areas. Now let's zoom out and compare this to Nashville and Franklin. One of the biggest surprises for Tennessee buyers is how far their money goes here, especially when factoring property taxes. Alabama property taxes are often significantly lower. Tennessee does have no state income tax, which is important to acknowledge, but when focusing specifically on waterfront property carrying costs, many buyers find the annual ownership expenses in Alabama surprisingly reasonable. And that's what changes perspective. So what does it really cost to live on SmithLake in 2026? It's not the cheapest place you can live. Waterfront property rarely is. But when you break down property taxes, insurance, utilities, dock maintenance, groceries, and optional HOA fees, the overall ownership costs are often more manageable than buyers expect, especially compared to similar waterfront markets in Tennessee. When you understand the full picture, not just the purchase price, you can make a smart, long-term decision. If you're thinking about buying on SmithLake and want help understanding your specific financial picture, reach out. I'm happy to walk through it with you. And if this breakdown helped you, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more SmithLake insights.